Okay, guys, I'm going to do the more difficult problems. So, for instance, I'm going to do a lot of the parabolas and a lot of the hyperbolas. I might jump back to the front if I have some time. Just need to pick up Preston by a certain time. So, let's flip to the back of the review. As far as talking about the test, you need to know all of your conics. So, the review is an excellent way to get ready because you see very similar problems on your test. So looking at this one is opening down, judging by the y equals and the negative. I know that the vertex is negative 2, 2. So negative 2, 2 is here. I know it's going to be going down. I use my absolute value of a equals 1 over 4c. So my a is negative 1, but I use just the 1 because c cannot be negative. And whenever you have a whole number equal to a fraction, you are going to cross multiply. 4c equals 1, c equals 1/4. And divide whenever you have a fraction equal to a whole number. So that means that I'm going to go down a fourth for my focus. That means my focus, I went down a fourth. So I'm still at negative 2, but now I'm at 1 3/4 because I went down a fourth from 2. Sorry, not negative 2. Okay, so then I go the opposite way, a fourth in the other direction. That's y equals 2 1/4 because I went up a fourth. And so that's my directrix. And then my axis of symmetry is x equals, where it's symmetrical, negative 2. And then I need my other 2 points. So it's 4 times c. So in this case, c was 1/4. So my width all the way across is 1. So that doesn't mean 1 on each side, but that means that it's 1 all the way across. So that means it's a half and a half. And then there is my parabola. So all the work here is what you need to know how to show for the test because, you know, I may not be able to tell, but your work shows me that you know what you're doing. So then let's look at, say, number 11. We'll do 11 and 13 and 15. So on number 11, I want to change this to a improper. So it's 3, not improper, mixed fraction. So I have my vertex and my focus. And so I notice that the distance between those two is 3/4. So that's not 3/4, silly. It is 1/4. Okay, so then I have my C, I have my vertex, I just need to know the direction. So negative 7, 4 is like there, and then negative 7 and 3 3/4 is a little bit below it, so that means my parabola is going down. It's a y equals, I'll fill in my a in just a second, x plus 7 squared plus 4. So my a equals 1 over 4c. So my c is 1/4. 1 over 4 times 1/4 gives me 1, but it's a negative because it's going down. So you do have to sketch it out to get an idea. Is it positive or negative? A, because you can't determine that by the equation. So there's my answer. So then if we look at the next one, we have our focus and directrix. I don't have my vertex, but I know my vertex is somewhere in between. I do know that my vertex already has a negative 5x value because that's where my focus is. And I'm going to compare these two y values to figure out the value in between them. And the number in between negative 7 and negative 9 is negative 8. And now I have my vertex. So let's look at the direction. So negative 5, negative 7 is here. Negative 9 is here. So judging by the two parts that I have, it's a y equals. I'll fill in my a in a little bit. My c is going to be the distance from my vertex to my focus. So that distance, if I compare my y values, is 1. So a equals 1 over 4 times 1. 1 over 4. So 1/4. And it's a positive because it's opening up. Alright, so let's try 15. So 15, we know the vertex. We know it's a y equals, I don't know a, x minus 6 squared. My vertex is 6, negative 4, minus 4. So now I'm going to use I'm going to pick any point I want. I could pick 7, negative 6. So my other point is 7, negative 6. Negative 6 goes for y. 7 goes for x. And I solve for the a. So I'm going to add 4. That's negative 2. 1 squared. Hey, a is negative 2. So right here, negative 2, x minus 6 squared, minus 4. What in the world? Extra parentheses. Alright, so I think I've done one of every type of parabola you will see. Let's go to our hyperbolas. So we're going to do 17 and 19. So if we look here, we know it's a vertical one because of the y being first. I know that my center is negative 2, 1. The h and the k are switched when x and y are switched. My a is first in hyperbola, so a is 4, b is 2. My c is going to be a squared plus b squared now. So c squared equals 16 plus 4, so 20. Square root of 20, 2 square root of 5. Simplifying radicals. So let's start graphing. So negative 2, 1 is here. My y is first, so I'm going to do my 16 first up and down. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 right, 2 left. Create my box this way. Okay, and then I create my two hyperbolas, two parabolas, my whole hyperbola together. Now I ask for some specific things. Vertices, foci, asymptotes. Vertices are where your two parabolas are, so that's negative 2, 5, and negative 2, negative 3. My foci is going to be on my major axis, which in this case it's called the transverse axis. So it's the one where the two parabolas are off of. Okay, so in this case would be the y. So I take my center up here, negative 2, 1, and I put my c on my y of my center. So there's the center right there, and I just put the c on my center. So it's kind of like ellipses. We did this with ellipses. We put the C on our center with our ellipses too. And then I need my asymptote. So y equals, if I look at my center, I went rise 4, run 2. So 4 over 2, x plus 2 is my center, minus 1 is my center. So, whenever you can simplify this or not, that doesn't matter. Alright, so let's do, actually, we're going to do, what do we want to do? Yeah, we'll do 19. So 19, we have our center, HK. Then it tells us this part. This part's telling me that it's vertical, meaning my y is first. So whenever I write my center, y is going to come first. X will come second, and so then I have my width. So my width is going to go with my x, my tall is going to go with my y, but this is the whole width. So from end to end is 16, so I'm going to use 8 squared, 64, and the whole thing is 20 tall. Okay, so then I use half of that, because that's the full thing, so that's 10 squared, or 100. I would obviously prefer these two, but just for this purpose, I'm just writing those. Alright, so let's jump to our last one. So our last one is a hyperbola. So let's just sketch this out. Negative 10, 5, negative 10, negative 17. So I need to find my middle. Well, I already know my center is going to be negative 10 something because they're on that same line. So if I take my two values, 5 plus negative 17 divided by 2, negative 12 over 2, negative 6. There's my y value. There's my center, right, of my hyperbola. I also know it's going vertically. So I'm going to do y plus 6 first, minus x plus 10 second, equals 1. So underneath this, I'm going to put my a squared and b squared. So judging by this, right, if my center's at negative 10, well, I have it over here, right? Here's my center. So what I'm going to do is compare 2 points. Doesn't matter, right? Say these two. They're already negative. So what's the difference between those two? Well, the difference is 11. So 11 squared, 121, goes underneath the y because we're talking about y-wise. So a is 11. I don't want to write this. A equals 11. My c is square root of 185, so now I can find my b. So c squared equals a squared plus b squared. So c squared is 185. A squared is 121. I subtract 121, and I get 64, and there is my hyperbola. I feel like all the rest of them are generally pretty easy. Easier. I think I hit the more difficult ones. Just flipping through. I'll send out all the answers to this. And thanks for watching. And I will see you on Friday for the test.